The Grand Canyon, a giant, ugly hole in the ground, or amazing national resource? To investigate this amazing creation, Professor Nick.
Hello students, Professor Nick here. Today, for our lesson, we're going to talk about how Crazy Stu Williams and I walked from the top of the Grand Canyon to the bottom and then back to the top within a 28-hour period, 8 of which were spent walking and hating our lives. The other 20 were amazing national treasures. Let's turn our attention to the map. Our journey starts here at the Backcountry Information Center. This is where we left our car because a shuttle leaves at 4, 5, and 6 a.m. to take us to the trailhead. Jake and I arrived at 5:03 a.m. Luckily, this is a government service and the bus was late, and we caught it by running to the bus and getting on. The bus follows this route, which right here is along the south rim, and we got to see the sun coming up. It was quite beautiful. We didn't appreciate it because of the daunting task ahead of us, to the South Kaibab Trailhead. Now, the first thing we should talk about is that whenever you see squiggly lines close together, like right here, that means that that part of the trail is going to be terrible. So, this is called a switchback. The trail starts out with a switchback. Immediately, we hated the trip. We continue on till we get all the way down to the next set of switchbacks. I think this is called the
Skeleton Point.
Skeleton Point. Oh yes, this is not even the tip-off yet. Skeleton Point. Not fun. You see this D right here? This means difficult.
I thought it meant death.
One would think, but it does not. It means difficult. Continue on, because Jake and I are troopers. We're just absolutely destroying this trail. To the tip-off. This is where you first get to really see the Colorado River, and also walk along a portion of the trail that's just straight cliff. Continuing on down, across a tunnel, and then across a bridge. Quite beautiful. Over to our campground. We left the South Kaibab Trailhead at approximately 5:30 in the a.m. We arrived at our campground at 8:30 a.m. That took us 3 hours to do the 6-mile, 5,000-foot change in elevation, which we were flying. I don't know if you know what it's like to get to a campground at 8:30 a.m., but it's totally bizarre, especially because Jake and I didn't have a watch, and we didn't know what time it was. Later we figured out that this camera here can be used as a timekeeping device. That was great. So we spent the day hanging out, reading books, playing in the Colorado River, playing in the stream. We heard a very funny presentation on bats by the ranger. It was much better than the Carlsbad Caverns bat presentation, which they do every night. But that next morning it was time for us to leave. Oh, I will mention that we had to catch this bus at 5 a.m. to get to the trailhead, and Jake and I, like we just said, don't have any watches or timekeeping devices. Our cell phones die almost immediately. See, it's very interesting. We only have chargers for the car, and we only get...
We'll get to that on a later episode.
Okay. But to get to the trailhead, or the Backcountry Information Center, at 5, we had to wake up on our own at 4. So I think Jake woke up at 2 to check the clock. I woke up at 4. Finally, it was time to wake up and pack and go. Anyway, so the next morning we had to do the same thing to get as much of the trail covered as we could before the sun rose, or before the trail had a lot of sun on it. We got up at 4:15. We were out the door by 4:45, and we were on the trail. So the trail starts out following the same way it came for about a tenth of a mile. Right here, we saw some deer standing on the trail that looked at us like, "What are you doing here?" These deers in these parks, and all these animals in the parks, they aren't scared of humans, and they want their food, so they just hang out while you try to pass. So here we go. Walking fine. Right here, the trail starts to descend, which...
What's that E stand for?
That's easy.
Oh.
Easy, because the trail descends. Now, I don't know if you know this, but we have to go 5,000 feet back up in the air, so anytime you descend, it does not make you happy. Again, very easy, pretty much level, maybe a little incline, no big deal. Right here, first set of switchbacks, Devil's Corkscrew. We took care of business with that fairly briskly, made some good time, even though it was difficult. I think the first set of switchbacks of the day are the hardest because the heart's not working, legs aren't working, you fight through it, you keep going. On we go. Oh, moderate section of the trail. We get to Indian Gardens. It's been approximately 2 hours for us to cover the first 4.5 miles of the trip. Indian Gardens is another campground, so they had bathrooms and water. We took a break, drank some Gatorade, and off we go. Again, very easy, very nice. Sun's rising. It's about 6:30. It's quite beautiful. Keep going. No fun. Difficult. 3 miles to go. 3,000 feet of elevation change. That is not going to be fun.
Look at all those squiggles.
What did we say? Lots of squiggles. No fun. Look at all these squiggles. It's just squiggles. Which basically means we did a Stairmaster for 3 miles with 40 pounds on our back. Squiggle. Take a breath. Squiggle. Take a breath. Squiggle. Take a breath. Keep going. We're not done yet.
You sure that D doesn't mean die?
We might have wanted to die, but it just means difficult.
Oh.
This was squiggle, take a breath, squiggle, take a breath, squiggle, take a breath, squiggle, take a breath, squiggle. Oh, the last of the switchbacks. We are done. Nope. Now you have to walk this last maybe 0.3 miles, which is just death, especially because this is the second most popular trail in the park, and about this time is when all normal people are waking up to come take some pictures, and they're all happy and joyous and loving life because they're going to go take some pictures in the Grand Canyon. Well, we just put 9 miles in and been up for 5 hours. I was not happy to see them. I just wanted to be done. Finally, make it to the top, catch the bus back to the Backcountry Information Center, and we are done. And that, students, is how you conquer the Grand Canyon, a national treasure.